First up, let's just quickly go through the buffs, like the food and the potions you're going to be using. So, if you are crafting your own gear, what I would reckon is that you get a turnip salad. This means that you're going to increase the crafting speed and also quality of your gear that you're making. So, for example, on this Novice Scholar's Cowl, the item power is 300 because the quality is normal. Whereas on these Journeyman's Mercenary Shoes, normal would be 500 item power, but I've got outstanding and therefore it's 540. Making something like a turnip salad, if you have access to this, or just buying turnip salads on the marketplace, this is going to increase the quality of gear you're crafting. If you're not crafting your own gear and you're buying it on the marketplace, then don't worry. For the food, we're going to be using something like a goat stew is great, that increases combat damage for a long period of time, meaning obviously more damage. If you are a beginner and you're not sure about foods and potions, then don't worry. You can just do the rest of this guide without having to worry about that just yet. On the potions we're going to be using, however, I would recommend minor healing potions to start with, to get some health back, and maybe energy potions should you need them. At tier 4, however, we're going to be using minor poison potions so we can do damage over time to our enemies. Now then, let's start off by talking about the gear you're going to be using at tiers 2 and 3. Often the weapons we're using and the gear we're using is not going to be as specific until we get up to tier 4, so we may be changing this. So for the boot slot, I would recommend going with the Novice Soldier's Boots at tier 2. This is going to give you a rejuvenating spirit buff, increasing your movement speed and healing over 5 seconds, so a bit healing and a bit of speed there. Simply upgrade them at tier 3 to the Journeyman's version for the same buff but better, and then you can also get max load if you need it for carrying more items, or toughness to increase some of your defense. For the head slot, I'd recommend the Novice Scholar's Cowl. That's because it gives Force Field, which is a knockback, so you can interrupt your enemy spellcasting and also knock them back, as well as getting a passive increasing damage and healing. Same again at tier 3, upgrade it for a better version, and go with aggression again. And don't forget, like I said, you may be swapping these out completely at tier 4, but just at tier 2 and 3, these are going to be the quickest and easiest items to get you going on your journey before we build out the whole build at tier 4. On the chest armor, it's Beginner's Mercenary Jacket, then a Novice's Mercenary Jacket, and then a Journeyman's Mercenary Jacket from tiers 2 to 3. This gives you the Inferno Shield ability, where you can basically put a shield on yourself, reducing damage taken, but also reflecting damage back at your attacker. We can also increase damage and healing and defense from the passive we get on this item. Before we move on to weapons and what we're going to be doing at tier 4 to build out the actual build itself, I just want to mention that the Novice's bag is what you'll be starting off with your bag, and then if you can get tier 3 and 4 of these, just get the most expensive bag you can get. That's going to increase your carry capacity. Same for the cloak. Just get the most expensive one you can get, or the best tier, and that is going to increase energy regeneration. So now on to the tier 4 final build makeup that we're going to be doing. Starting off with, we're going to be going for the Adepts, where are they? Soldier Boots. These now give us Wanderlust. Basically, we have an active ability, which is a charge up, so it gets better and better, movement skill that lets us escape from fights or chase down our targets. Now, let's move on to the head and robe. These are both going to come from the Cleric. And these are going to be basically the Adepts, Scholar and Cleric ones, should I say, sorry. So we're going to go with the Adepts Scholar Cowl. This then gives us an energy shield, where whenever we take damage, we restore some energy. Energy is the actual resource, of course, we're using to spend our abilities. And we also get a magic shield on ourselves. Very, very nice. On the cloak, though, chest, oh my god, getting my words mixed up. We're going for the Adept's Cleric robe with Everlasting Spirit. This is really nice in that we get a magical ward. The next time you take damage while it's active, you'll become immune to further damage for a few seconds. And we can increase all of our damage and healing done. Lastly, oh no, that was all of the gear. I think I've actually gone nuts in this part of the video. Lastly, onto the weapon, of course. This, as a magic build, we are going to be using fire. Now, unlike Arcane and other spell schools, we're lucky that the beginner's staff is going to be fire anyway. So we're going to start off with Firebolt for single target, basically doing Firebolt damage, fire damage, and then dealing some damage over a few seconds. Burning Field, however, is where in a targeted location you can put down a burning area, which will also do damage, fire damage immediately, and then more over time. So single target versus AoE. Got Flame Blast, where basically we focus energy on the target, igniting all enemies around that person, and it can actually be an ally as well, where it'll ignite everyone around them. If the main target is an enemy, they will take magic damage. If it is an ally, we increase their movement speed while burning everyone around them, so they can kind of run around quickly like a magical inferno. And also Pyroblast, which we charge up to do a lot of damage and channel, dealing magic damage upon impact of an enemy within a 4-meter radius based on how long you've channeled it for. If you channel it for 1.2 seconds, it will also knock back enemies nearby. Then at the Journeyman, so tier 3, we basically just do the exact same thing and upgrade it to a Journeyman's Fire Staff. And then at the Adept final one, it's going to be the Adept's Great Fire Staff. The main ability we get here is Flame Pillar. The rest of it, you can kind of use whatever you want, but use the ones I've recommended, really. And then we get Flame Pillar. Conjure a flaming pillar within a 4-meter radius around the target, dealing massive damage to all enemies hit. If you hit at least one of these enemies, you will reduce the cooldown of the ability by 50%, halving that cooldown. And on the passives, you could do things like Burn, where each auto attack sets the target on fire, dealing magical damage over a few seconds. Or you could go for Furious, where after every 5 spells cast, you increase your damage dealt. Using those abilities, both on the gear and the weapons I've shown you, this completes the Great Fire Staff build in Albion Online. Hopefully it was helpful for you, and if you're looking for other build guides, check out the playlist on screen. And if you're unsure about any of the concepts or how to get these items, etc., then what I would recommend is watching the Ultimate Beginner's Guide, also in the playlist you see on screen now.